Have you ever heard of a king who ruled a mighty empire, left his name carved in stone, and then simply vanished from the record of death? This is the story of Khasekhemre Neferhotep I, a pharaoh of Egypt's turbulent 13th dynasty. His reign, around 1740 to 1729 BCE, was a time of immense pressure and shifting power. Egypt was no longer the unshakable giant it had once been. Kings came and went with alarming speed, their reigns often lasting mere months. Yet, in this storm of instability, Neferhotep I managed to hold the throne for 11 years, a remarkable achievement for his era. He left his mark on temples and monuments, a clear sign of a ruler trying to project strength and order. The most fascinating part of his story, however, is not what he did in life, but where he went in death. We know his full name. We know about his family. To understand Neferhotep I, you must first understand the world he inherited. The 13th dynasty was a far cry from the Golden Ages. Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom. Egypt was in a state of slow fracture. The central government, once all-powerful, was showing deep cracks. Power was decentralizing. Local officials, powerful families. Historians call it unstable, short reigns, sudden power shifts. Many kings ruled a year or two, some only a few months. Shadow pharaohs, little more than a name on worn stone. Rapid turnover created a cycle of weakness. A king with months on the throne couldn't launch big projects. He couldn't lead wide military campaigns. He couldn't solidify administration along the Nile. The country drifted, lacking long-term stability. In this chaos, Neferhotep I, son of a commoner, rose to the throne. His non-royal origins matter. The old father-to-son succession was breaking down. The throne opened to the well-connected. In an era defined by fleeting reigns, Neferhotep I's 11 years on the throne were a statement of profound power. This length of rule was not just a number. It represented a rare period of stability in a deeply unstable time. It gave him the chance to govern, not merely to occupy the palace. Evidence of his authority is found across the length of Egypt. Inscriptions bearing his name have been discovered as far south as the island of Elephantine, near modern-day Aswan. This was the traditional southern border of Egypt, a critical strategic and commercial outpost. His presence there shows that his reach extended to the very edges of the kingdom. At the other end of the country, his influence is confirmed in the north, at least as far as Memphis, the ancient capital near the Nile Delta. By holding sway over the vast territory between Elephantine and Memphis, Neferhotep controlled the heartland of Egypt. This dominion encompassed the most important religious centers, the most fertile agricultural lands, and the major administrative hubs. For a king of the 13th dynasty, maintaining this grip was a monumental achievement. In ancient Egypt, religion and politics were two sides of the same coin. A pharaoh's power was not just political, it was divine. To be a successful ruler, one had to be seen as a devout servant of the gods and the chief intermediary between the divine and human worlds. Neferhotep I understood this principle perfectly. He embarked on an ambitious program of building restoration, focusing his efforts on some of Egypt's most sacred sites. His most significant work was undertaken at Abydos, Osiris, the god of the underworld resurrection eternal life. This was a place of immense religious importance to all Egyptians. By commissioning works at Abydos, including a chapel dedicated to Osiris, Neferhotep was making a powerful statement. He was publicly demonstrating his devotion to one of Egypt's most beloved gods. Even as its internal power structures were weakening, Egypt under Neferhotep I did not become a completely isolated kingdom. The nation's long history of international trade and diplomacy continued, albeit on a potentially smaller scale. Evidence of his reign has been found far beyond the borders of Egypt, most notably in the ancient port city of Byblos, located on the coast of modern-day Lebanon. Byblos had been a key trading partner of Egypt for centuries. It was a vital source of high-quality cedar wood, cedar for shipbuilding, cedar for temple doors. cedar for fine coffins. The discovery of artifacts bearing Neferhotep's name there is significant. This recognition in a major foreign city shows that Egypt, under his rule, still commanded respect on the international stage. It suggests that diplomatic missions and trade expeditions were still being sent from Egypt to the Near East. These connections were crucial. Trade brought essential resources like wood and resin. Trade also brought luxury goods that affirmed the pharaoh's wealth and status. Maintaining these relationships demonstrated that Egypt was still a player in the complex geopolitics of the region. Of all the questions surrounding Neferhotep I, one looms larger than any other. Where was he buried? The absence of his tomb is the core of his mystery. For a pharaoh who ruled for 11 years and left inscriptions from one end of Egypt to the other, the lack of a known final resting place is deeply puzzling. Egyptian pharaohs spent their entire lives planning and building their tombs. These were not mere graves, they were houses of eternity, elaborate structures designed to ensure the king's successful journey into the afterlife and secure his immortal legacy. The discovery of a royal tomb is the ultimate prize for an Egyptologist, offering a treasure trove of information about a king's life-death beliefs. Several theories have been proposed to explain this glaring absence. One prominent theory suggests his tomb is located at Abydos. Given his extensive building program there and his clear devotion to the god Osiris, it would be a logical choice. A large, unfinished royal tomb discovered at Abydos, known as S10, was once thought to be his, but further research has cast doubt on this identification. Neferhotep I's reign can be seen as one of the last moments of real coherence for the Middle Kingdom. He was a stabilizer, a king who managed to hold the state together. Political skill, religious devotion, military authority. His legacy is immediately visible in his succession. Sehathor, Sobekotep IV. Sobekotep IV would build on Neferhotep's foundation, becoming one of the most powerful pharaohs of the 13th dynasty. He ruled for around a decade, consolidating royal power. A non-royal family created a brief, successful dynasty. This period of stability, however, was fleeting. After Sobekotep IV, the central government's decline accelerated. The line of kings grew fragmented. Their authority outside the capital region dwindled. Egypt slid toward the Second Intermediate Period. Political division. Native rulers held the south from Thebes, while the Hyksos rose in the north at Osiris. Neferhotep's reign was not the cause, but it stands as a final bright moment before the coming storm. His name is present on monuments across Egypt, but his body is absent, his tomb a void in the historical record. His lost tomb reminds us that history is not just a story of what we know, but also of what has been lost. Will the sands of Egypt ever give up their secret and reveal the final resting place of the pharaoh who vanished?